top in that game, was able to completely dominate. So there's a lot of really interesting counters, like you said, potentially out of these top laners. Immediately, JDG gonna get rid of the Olaf, clearly not interested in dealing with that one from Keshi, and for good reason, right? He's been pretty dominant on this pick.
Not in the slightest at all, Bloxer. So we're seeing the usual suspects banned out of mid lane here, but HongQ's pool runs very, very deep. We talk about all of his work on control mages and how good he is at the bird champions like Azir and Anivia. I know Azir caught some buffs recently. Not sure if that's going to be enough to actually push him in to the pro play meta once again, but even HongQ's Twisted Fate has really come up as a sleeper pick that he's had a lot this year and has made a lot of really good plays on.
Yeah, but the champion pool, like you said, is an absolute ocean, as we are going to get the final couple of bans coming on through. So, in terms of first picks and stuff that's really solid and available, I was going to say, maybe you just want to go towards your jungle early on, but no, immediately slamming in the Ashe. So do ThunderTalk respond by picking themselves up the Seraphine? There's a reason that that duo has been so strong, and then I don't know that you want to give that over to Gala and Vampire.
Now the question is, if you take the Seraphine, what are you pairing up with it? Because you banned Ezreal, which is a pretty good one. You could always go for the Caitlyn to go for Supreme Poke that way, but you don't get the same effect that you get out of a Ashe Seraphine. That will be the lock-in for ThunderTalk. I am curious to see if JDG will respond with Emilio, which I think is Ashe's second best pairing and tends to play really, really well even when you take away a Seraphine.
Absolutely. ThunderTalk, though, still got their next pickup to go for. The junglers usually very high priority to come on through. I think the Nocturne could be fun in this situation. I would prefer something a little bit tankier when you've got the Seraphine already. The Pantheon fits into that a little bit more right here, and with the Jarvan band away, I think it's kind of the best pairing that you can go for. JDG recognizing that, though, going towards something a little bit more pick potential, and I do really like the Nocturne alongside an Ashe. Ashe obviously squishy, pretty easy to dive on top of, a lot harder when the lights have been turned off.
Really like the global presence that has come through. I do wonder if JDG will end up picking mid here and go for a Rise, take that away from Heru, and also kind of dominate the global presence, because it's something that Heru has picked with this Pantheon a lot to be able to just go wherever the team wants. Instead, we're going to see a Lulu get paired up with this Ashe. Not your typical pairing, but a pairing that will have solid defensive capabilities as well as decent offense.
Absolutely, and it looks like ThunderTalk are going to look to continue on with their global presence as well. The Rise lock-in would make a lot of sense, right? It has been Heru's most played champion by double the next best available pick for him. He's been really happy to be able to play this one, and alongside the Pantheon, makes a lot of sense. So both of these junglers are going to be heavy on the roaming, and now it's going to be really interesting to see what we get out of these top laners. As you said, these top laners love to skirmish in the 1v1s, and with these supports more likely to just stay in their lanes, not looking to roam around anywhere near as much, it's going to be on these junglers to get involved in that top lane instead.
Really like this Anivia ban already coming through, trying to get rid of the zone control that that HongQ can put down. I wonder if he's going to catch a Twisted Fate ban for the last one. Bloxer, we've seen these teams save their top laners for later. I'm still curious to see what pick ThunderTalk is going to put at AD carry. Right now, I'm thinking that a Sivir could really do the job here. Give yourself a spell shield just in case you are under any threat from some of these Ashe arrows, but also allow your Pantheon, your Rise, and your unnamed top laner to really start sprinting at JDG later on in the game.
Yeah, something they've also gone towards has been the Jhin. They haven't minded pairing up the Jhin Seraphine. Now, I don't love it. I've not been such a fan in a lot of situations, and I think that the Jhin can be a bit of a risky pickup. It's more of that utility rather than bringing the full damage, but at the same time, you've got yourself a Rise if you have an aggressive top laner for Keshi, which often is the case, as we've been talking about. Then the Jhin can work alongside, and it does work pretty well with all of this global presence, right? Even if you don't rotate with the Jhin, you can at least chuck the curtain call down and be useful from quite a far range, so that might be a potential option for them. JDG, though, clearly slightly more worried about the shorter range, more bursty engage options, banning away the Corki. See if that final ban does also go down towards the ADC role. If they ban away something like the Sivir, I think that would make a lot of sense, as you were saying. No, they think that the Jhin was the bigger threat, so they take that one off the board.
I think that's understandable. I think if Seraphine just happens to catch you on the tip of that Q, then it becomes a little bit easier for you to get locked down, especially when you don't really have any extra mobility on the side of JDG. The final ban for ThunderTalk was that Galio. That Nocturne Galio combo is a pretty difficult one to deal with, so I think it's a pretty smart move here, as HongQ has caught so many bans. Okay, are we going to see APC Seraphine?
APC Seraphine.
It looks like that might be the case here. We'll see if they swap off. No, it is going to be AP carry Seraphine down for On. Okay, I'm less enthused about it, but Feather will get to roam.
I mean, and this is the joy, right, from JDG of being able to pick that Ashe first, is that you force your opponents into taking the Seraphine, otherwise you're just going to give away one of the premier bot lanes that we have, and now they've been forced into a situation where, yeah, things are looking a little bit weird overall for ThunderTalk. This is the first play that we are going to see of the Seraphine ADC, unless, of course, things do shift around for ThunderTalk. It does mean they've got a very strong teamfighting composition, right? You've got a lot of potential for these teamfights, especially if you hit a big encore now, it's going to be dealing even more damage. That could be pretty fun. Still, on the other side of things, JDG looking to round their composition out, grabbing the Rumble as well. And now they just need themselves something... Okay, I was going to say, I did not like the idea of the Akali right here, but the Twisted Fate, you highlighted it earlier, that's been something HongQ's been really fun with.
Listen, if you can control the globals, you will have a much easier time. Teams tend to disrespect them, so I am not surprised in the slightest that was the option for HongQ. And Best is going to be the final lock-in here, going over to Keshi into this Rumble up top for Xiaoxu. Bloxer, I really like the pick potential of this ThunderTalk squad. You know, being able to just have Junhao move around and hop right on top of somebody. I'm trying to ignore the obvious in the room here. Okay, there we go. I was a little worried for a second that we were going to get something real weird. But you do have the potential, especially at level 6. I think the Nautilus, while I don't really like it for the lane, obviously you're not going to have too much kill pressure. That depth charge is going to get a lot of value in this game. Rumble, Twisted Fate, Ashe, all champions that do not have any movement abilities. So they are going to be under a lot of siege this game, provided that the rest of ThunderTalk can get on top of them. Keshi's going to have the ball in his hands this game. They're really going to need him to carry this over the finish line.
Absolutely they are, but you say you really like the pick potential out of the ThunderTalk composition. I really like the pick potential out of the JDG composition as well. You still have a ton of threat. Those gold cards are going to be massive, and you're talking about squishier and immobile champions. Well, the Ryze and the Seraphine over on ThunderTalk's side also going to have to be very careful to not get jumped. JunJia, HongQ, if they are playing well together, things could be really terrifying. I think the difference maker right here for JDG is going to be these Ashe arrows. Are the Enchanting Crystal arrows landing and getting those picks before these team fights even start? If so, JDG are going to be putting themselves in a really strong spot. The early game also going to be fascinating. We're going to have to track really carefully who's getting to level 6s first and what they're doing with them.
It's the most important thing when you got these big level 6 ultimates, Bloxers. We're on Summoner's Rift for game 1 of the first best of 3 series of the day. Remember, only 2 series on this fine Thursday morning. All right, not too bad. You know, it's still early, so they're getting the Gyos out. Bloxer, I love that you mentioned the, you know, waiting for level 6 here. I do feel like if ThunderTalk can just respect what JDG can do at level 6 and instead let the game come to them, right? Have this Pantheon maybe make a play early on, but once 6 happens, let your Ryze farm up, let your Seraphine delete these waves, try to pick your spots. JDG's composition is really on a timer, and then if it goes late, you do have this Ashe, but I certainly favor having a Ryze if you go that deep.
Very, very much so. However, you are asking ThunderTalk to play slow and controlled. Now, we've both watched enough ThunderTalk games this split to know that that's not necessarily what this team particularly wants to be doing, so it's going to be very interesting. Yeah, they're not exactly out of lockstep with everyone else on that one, and so it's going to be very interesting to see if they can hold their horses, if they can slow things down a little bit, let the game come to them, or if they're just going to look to push the pace of the game forwards as much as possible, like they do usually. As you said though, JDG, they do want to push the boat out. They want to be getting as involved as possible, as quickly as possible. Specifically, once that level 6 is ticked for the Nocturne and the Twisted Fate, I want to see these two getting involved in a different lane pretty much immediately. Yeah, the Ryze can follow you, yeah, the Pantheon can potentially follow you, but you can get there a lot quicker with a Twisted Fate and with a Nocturne, as long as you get that push going in the mid lane and just have that quick first move.
one of the top picks for JunJia this year. 17 games on this Nocturne. Does not have a positive win rate. He's sitting at 8 and 9, but you know, with the way that some things go, it can be tough sometimes. Sometimes you are absolutely rolling teams over, and sometimes you're not. And you know, we haven't seen the locked-in JDG squad since Split 1, really, when they were the ones to go to first stand along with BLG. And we've been waiting for them to maybe recapture that glory. Maybe with these slight meta changes, we'll see it. Maybe when Gala is able to get back to traditional AD carries, he will be the one to raise the team's floor. Is JDG going to attack Heru here for but a moment. It'll take a little bit of damage as Junhao shows up to try to protect his buddy. But right now, JunJia's got the inside track. We're going to see some fighting in the bottom side as Gala gets bursted out. The flash from Feather, and he's the one to pick up first blood. And now we got to fight over the crab. Big smite going down as Junhao got it. The tether fears him up, but JunJia finds the ThunderTalk bot lane, showing up to cause some problems. Now HongQ taking a little bit of damage, trying to get away, and ThunderTalk will stop the press. A 1,000 gold lead early on for the young ThunderTalk team.
Everything working out right here for ThunderTalk, and that's just misplay right here out of JDG, not recognizing that they had no rights to be stepping up in these situations. Specifically, this bot lane play, not majorly surprised that it goes wrong the second that this hook lands. Gala, the stun lock right here from that double beat drop is so miserable. I don't know why JunJia goes for this crab though. He can see that his bot lane is getting aggressed upon. They were pushed up in that situation as well. He knew that he was going to get chased down through the mid lane, and still stepping into this situation is just a straight up mistake.
Yeah, I mean, he had the tether on Junhao. If he starts walking away, Junhao can't follow him or he's going to get feared. You just start walking toward HongQ. And I think that you might be okay, but a bit of an early mistake from JDG. Not something that we have been too surprised by at times. One of the very underrated things that you may have not have noticed in the fight, if you weren't paying close attention, is while Vampire did polymorph on, when it comes to casters, they just cast their abilities.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, I can't auto-attack Gala. Oh no.
Whoopsie. Exactly. And the fact that Arn's doing as much damage as he did early on is a really good sign for things to come, because the Seraphine in the APC role, you just are so used to seeing the amount of damage a Seraphine support does that it does a shocking amount of damage. It can really surprise with how much you're actually able to lay down. And this is not a composition that should be overall deficit in damage once we get later on into the game, right? Once your Rise is online, when your best is beginning to roll through, things can be looking pretty dang good. So ThunderTalk, as much as we were talking about letting the game come to them, I don't think that was overforcing in that situation. That was a really good punish on a mistake from JDG.
We did say that they needed to make the early plays happen pre-6. You know, we need to see Junhao get active. Well, he's got a kill in his ledger, certainly getting active, and, you know, you'll take the 2v2 kill on your side of ThunderTalk. So now, again, once JunJia hits level 6, which is going to be coming up soon, as they're looking for this crab, this is the time I want to see ThunderTalk pump the brakes a little bit and try to be very selective with their opportunities to try and find fights.
Yeah, find the correct fights for them, not be over-aggressing too much, being very careful as these level 6s begin to come on through. Junhao going to be able to take 6 right now. JunJia still waiting on his, so let's see if they're going to be immediately proactive with this. Heru was potentially thinking about going towards the bot lane, but steps straight onto a ward that's about this chicken camp, and is just going to back things off. Obviously, we've got the first Drake available to us in the game as well. That should be slightly easier to pick up right here for ThunderTalk, just because they've had so much bot lane pressure throughout this game.
See JDG giving the proper respect over to Feather. Still can do a lot of damage early on. You know, you don't really talk too much about the damage that supports can provide, but whenever you've got 2 squishies down on the bottom side, it's always something that you can do. HongQ dropping a ward over on the Grub Pit. Thought maybe he might have a look at that top side, but Keshi is just a little bit too healthy for the moment.
He's sat at a perfectly reasonable amount of health right here, so just going to back things off. JunJia does tick over to that level 6, so let's see. The first paranoia is so important. Immediately pings down towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, but guess who's here? Junhao is too. Here's the Twisted Fate ultimate coming down. One in Encore, hitting 3 members, slowing the advance of JDG.
They can
and
turn.
Here comes Rise. Big hook onto HongQ. He's rooted up. He's gonna die shortly. And Junhao got to the backside, getting everybody low. It's time for Heru to deal big damage. Vampire under the turret, but he goes down himself. A stake through his heart. And ThunderTalk are running over JDG.
On, take a bow right there, my man. Holy, like you said, the Encore, beautiful, cuts that engage off. And the problem is, it was just so telegraphed. We could see that coming from a mile away. As we took it to the top lane, hang on, big damage.
I think Xiaoxu will be fine, although Keshi's going to take a turn shot. That's a pretty good equalizer right on top of him. He's going to pop the Hex Drinker, so Keshi will be no worse for wear for the moment. We can already see a lot of members heading up to this top side for these grubs. Could be a dive too, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you've got everybody coming on up towards this camp. It's going to be fully spotted out right here, but I don't know that ThunderTalk's got any real threat. And we'll have a look back at this one. It's a super telegraphed play, right? You know exactly where everybody's coming in, and you can see Arn just gets far enough back to be able to land a beautiful Encore across multiple members. Gala doesn't actually get tagged up in it, but at this point in the game, the Ashe really doesn't deal that much damage, and I love the re-engage immediately, recognizing that, no, we can go back in. Heru has now arrived. We can turn things back around. The fact they're able to get 3 kills out of this play, turret play into the back pocket as well, just a huge injection of gold.
And this is something that we've chastised JDG for, is their over-aggression at times. And they have to know that, hey, the Seraphine is level 6. Maybe, just maybe, this play is not necessarily ours. ThunderTalk doing a great job of picking their spots, as we said. Might pick their spot here for this dragon. It'll be just Feather that will drive off the entirety of JDG, who were just too paralyzed with fear to do anything.
And they knew they were in a situation where things were beginning to come back off of cooldown. Right, Arn was going to have his Encore ready already. Also has got the Blackfire Torch in inventory at this point. Thunder Sky 2 for Junhao. Their opponents are just stronger, and it means that although it was just Feather in that situation, the collapse was coming on through, and they just didn't want to tangle.
Arn has this Blackfire Torch. He's so strong right now. If I'm ThunderTalk, I am now saying, hey, we are desperately trying to make plays. We're going to go on the aggression. HongQ just finished his Rod of Ages on the other side. You don't care if you're ThunderTalk. That item doesn't really do a whole lot for you damage-wise to turn these fights, at least early on. So I want to see Junhao's ultimate come back up and try to make another play with On and Feather down here.
Absolutely, and it is going to be coming back up within the next 20 seconds or so. ThunderTalk as well, just going to use that priority that they have to step up to this dragon, and I don't think there's going to be anything that JDG can do. They do have ultis available if they want to go scrap, but nobody's low health at this point from ThunderTalk. Heru needs to be careful.
He does walk up. He hits a gold card to the face. On and Feather looking to regroup with their mid-jungle duo, but everybody will be A-okay. And honestly, that's a big win for ThunderTalk. Any time that JDG is unable to make a play is just a plus play for ThunderTalk.
Like you said, there's a real timer coming through here. You've got some decent enough scaling options, of course, right? The Rumble's going to do plenty of damage later on into the game. Same thing with this Ashe, but really, you wanted to get things going as quickly as possible for JDG, and they did try. They tried with the proactivity, but just not recognizing that ThunderTalk's counter-gank angles, that their ability to turn plays back around was going to be far stronger than theirs. And now they're so far behind on these item breakpoints. I mean, JunJia, now you've fallen behind the Pantheon. There's not really any point in the game where you get back ahead of this champion, bar some miracle plays and some big injections of gold.
And how are you going to get them if you can't make these plays? I think that Keshi has largely been very respectful. They haven't bothered him at all. And I think that if your top laner, who has been very flippy, goes unbothered and is going to carry a small lead in the top lane, but a lead nonetheless, you're going to be in good shape. Vampire trying to get some deep warding in just to be able to see the next time that Junhao shows up on the bottom side, which does lead me to believe that JDG might look for something in this bottom quadrant. A lot of pings down on the red buff as JunJia wanted to make his way in. Heru will force him out.
Just gonna back away from this one. We've still got a while, obviously, until the next big objectives are coming on through. Okay, that's some pretty big damage. Like we said, right, with the Blackfire Torch, It is going to be a pretty rough lane to now be trying to deal with. First pick Ashe as well, you must remember. So this is something that JDG wanted. They would have known that the Seraphine was likely going to be taken away from them. Don't know that they would have expected it to go into the ADC role. And that might be what has sort of thrown them off a little bit in this situation. Things, though, have calmed back down. As we said, we kind of want ThunderTalk now to accelerate the pace of the game. Some pings heading towards the bottom lane could look for something if you're over-pushing, but at the moment, their only real option is going to be dives or just waiting for the next objectives to spawn.
Heru has upgraded his boots. So we have an arrow onto on, but no follow-up to be had by JDG because they saw Junhao, a well-timed move from the ThunderTalk jungler protecting his bot lane.
Indeed, and you can see just the pressure right here, struggling desperately to be able to clear these waves through. Tons of members of JDG just having to sit around on the bottom side of the map and wait. I mean, this is just JunJia wasting time at this point. As much as it may look like, oh, Junhao's also kind of just sat around. This is all the pressure being put down. You are now keeping the rest of your lane so much safer.
Alright, here comes HongQ trying to show up top for Keshi here. Keshi gonna give himself a shield, but he got gold carded. Now he's just gonna go for it on Xiaoxu, and the 2v1 with the flash. He still has it in the back pocket.
Oh, wait, he lives!
Does he let us know? He falls, but he ends up trading, and his jungler shows up to pick up the pieces. A 2-for-1 for ThunderTalk.
Really nicely played from Keshi. I thought he was just about going to be able to survive now. Paranoia into the mid lane. JunJia does not have the damage here. He might even get this turned around.
Oh, there's that Encore, the extension, but it just barely misses JunJia. He's lucky that that one did not clip him.
Absolutely, or he would have been dead. Hexplate or no. And things just going wrong here for JDG. Yeah, they're able to get one kill back onto HongQ, but still costs him his life. Keshi's able to get rolling as well. He's now got the Eclipse to be playing around as well. And ThunderTalk extend this gold lead out to about 3,000.
Up. We have Herald in 50 seconds. We've got Dragon at about a minute. We've got Heru pushing on a side lane unabated right now with triple grubs. Exactly what you want. It's why it was such a nice, easy pickup for ThunderTalk. Your side laners really appreciate this, and they have been dominating this early game against a JDG team that has looked completely lost.
They have. I mean, this is JDG. I don't even know if lost is quite the right word for it, because JDG have been trying. They have been very clear in the direction they're going towards. It's just the wrong decisions. They know exactly the plays they're going for. Everybody's arriving to them on time, but not recognizing when their opponents are strong, when they're strong, when they really have the timers to be able to go towards things. And yeah, it is costing them dearly here, Yanni.
This is the case of when you go 0 for 9 shooting in basketball, and the old quote, you know, I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 9 because 0 for 9 means I stop shooting. JDG have stopped shooting in this game. At least HongQ did try to make a hero play up top and really did what he could, but ThunderTalk, they're moving like they were moving in the walkouts. Look where everybody is. The togetherness is great. Junhao getting hit by an arrow. The lights are going to go out. They're going to try to get on the backline. Gold card is going to land on the Seraphine, who gets cleansed.
Oh, the equalizer.
And there's that equalizer. It's huge. Xiaoxu is burning ThunderTalk away, and JDG find a fight win, but guess who? It's Keshi coming through, but he's got to dash away because his entire team was dead. A wasted teleport. Maybe a turn on a HongQ. Pretty good hook by Feather, but he runs out of health, and now Keshi says it's go time, baby. HongQ's the first to fall. Keshi is tanking everything up. Heru's now trying to frontline. He's forced to flash away, and ThunderTalk trying to salvage something out of what was a very poor fight.
Yeah, that was beautiful right here out of Xiaoxu. Really nice to land that equalizer across multiple people. I mean, this is a pre-first item rumble, and it was still burning people alive. Like we said, just a little bit over-aggressive. This is JDG not stopping shooting, and I love just how much of a surrounding they have, how much of a flank they have. HongQ into the backline. Xiaoxu, watch this one. Equalizer across 3 members. It burns through On, burns through Junhao. Heru has to turn tail and run because of it. Maybe if Keshi's here a little bit earlier on, this play goes right for them, but he's way too late to the fight. He's at least able to get one back for the team.
And shout out Vampire as well for that wild growth right on top of that equalizer. Chef's kiss, so good. And this is what happens when ThunderTalk tries to fight without that Encore. Encore is such one of the strongest abilities in competitive play in League of Legends, in my opinion. And you know, when you see a Seraphine team fight with it and fight without it, it is night and day, as you literally saw there with that Nocturne ultimate. The good news for ThunderTalk is they still have map control, and they were able to take this Herald up top, even though they lost the second Dragon.
And just losing out onto one Dragon, not the end of the world, as we are just going to get a little bit of a hook here onto Vampire. Doesn't actually get hit with the double beat drop, so should be able to walk away.
He threw everything at him, but he's still alive. The public execution missed on the backline. Keshi in the 4v1 finds a kill, but he goes down. Equalizer going down as well, and Junhao in a 4v1 gets a kill for himself. He gets locked up, and it's a double kill for HongQ, but somehow ThunderTalk go 2 for 2 in this play.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to keep pushing through in the top lane. Heru is a big chunk of this team's damage at the moment, and he's just not here. Pretty good sign, actually, for ThunderTalk that they're able to make this play happen. It all starts with trying to make a play catch onto Vampire. He's just about able to get away from the initial bit of engage. It baits Keshi in way too far to go for that kill. Still, at the back of this one, what was about a 3,000 gold lead for ThunderTalk, now down to only about 1.5k.
ThunderTalk do get a top lane turret on the other side. It was first turret of the game. It went over to Heru, who, you know, is down 1.5k, but that is misleading. We'll take a look at this replay.
This from and if he lands this,
it's off.
If he lands that, things are all good in this situation. Instead, I mean, the fact that Keshi's able to get himself a kill out of this one at all is crazy. This Ambessa play so far has been pretty strong. Junhao as well gets a kill, gets himself killed in this situation. The fact that it's a 4v5, though, does work out in ThunderTalk's favor. And as we take stock of this game, we're nearly 20 minutes in, as we said, right, small gold lead going on for ThunderTalk. Pretty split in terms of where that gold is at. Junhao with the biggest lead over his opponent. HongQ, though, absolutely rolling in this game. Very close to having that Rod of Ages fully stacked.
Rift getting used in the mid lane. It's going to be a mid lane tier 1 turret, and ThunderTalk going to look for a second charge here, getting some good damage there. Good call out, Bloxer, because once that Rod of Ages ticks over, HongQ elected to go for that Lich Bane second, which means he is going to be stronger than the average Twisted Fate at this point in time, and you might see it pay off here, even with the boots. They throw everything at Heru, and it's HongQ that claims a shutdown.
And hey, what was it we said about HongQ, right? When the team is doing badly, HongQ's doing good. And the team was doing pretty badly early on. HongQ doing great right here. Fully stacked Rod of Ages coming through in just a minute or so. And has just been able to keep rolling. I love the fact that they bring the Ash Arrow down there too. Didn't need it in that situation. But better to throw everything at the opponent. Make sure you're going to be able to secure those kills. And now with Heru down, they're able to establish themselves a good push through the bottom lane. Mid lane in a pretty even state as well. All of this is going to be interesting setup as we've got the next Drake in less than a minute's time.
It's just not sustainable, Bloxer, to put the game on HongQ's shoulders like this, on a champion like Twisted Fate. If he's on any of his other picks, I'm all for it, but right now he has to be the solo carry. He has to be the bridge to get Gala to this late game, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if that's going to be possible with the way that TF is built nowadays and not really doing a ton of damage with these wild cards. But we'll see. If there is a player who can do it on this pick, it's going to be either Apto or HongQ, and one of these guys is currently playing at a professional and a pretty high level in this game, at least.
Absolutely. Just going to complete his rapid fire cannon as well. Ticks over to that 10 stacks as 2. So everything set up for him. HongQ is well and truly in a spot to be able to carry this game. The rest of ThunderTalk going to have to play it pretty carefully to make sure that that does not happen. Keshi, potentially the next target, is JunJia. Looking to get a pick onto him right here, and if Keshi goes down, that's just going to spell Baron.
Yeah, JunJia on the top side with this dragon coming up in about 5 seconds. I mean, Heru is ready and right on top of it. There are a lot of pings down because he's right on top of a ward, so you got to watch out for these globals. Gala's got that arrow. He's going to fire it. It's going to land on a feather, not exactly who you're looking for. So a big cooldown already out. But now here comes Twisted Fate along with Nocturne. Junhao in the back of the pit trying to tank up a lot of damage. He flashes away, but Heru's stuck around. He's got a flash. Encore lands onto a couple, and now it's a war on 2 fronts as Keshi gets into the middle of things again. It is starting to chop down JDG. It's a double kill for the ThunderTalk top laner, and Junhao's coming in over the top along with a realm warp from Heru. That means it's a triple kill for Keshi as they run roughshod over JDG, and there's pings on the Baron, Bloxer.
That should be Baron right here with 3 members dead, jungler included. ThunderTalk just find their team fight, and it looks to be an interesting spot for JDG. They're able to get on top of Heru. He has to flash back away over the pit wall. The dragon grabbed by JDG at least, but things looking great from ThunderTalk with the Baron in their inventories too.
Game fully back in ThunderTalk's hands. Once they hit those spikes and found a good fight, take a look at this replay again. You throw everything at the guy that doesn't take a lot of damage.
Exactly, you're trying for everything right here onto Junhao, who's able to get away. Heru has to flash back over the wall, but that's fine. And then the encore, like I said, it's a fight on 2 fronts. Gala, throughout this team fight, he threw out a W? He threw out a W. Right, he arrows onto Feather to start things off, and he throws out 1 volley of arrows throughout that team fight. Not a sustainable position to be in when your ADC isn't able to hit a single auto attack.
Ebessa has been one of Keshi's best champions here in his rookie season, and he is really putting on a show. We said it was going to be up to these top laners. Who was going to flip the lane for them? The answer was nobody. So they've had to find their own ways to make an impact, and while Xiaoxu did have that one fight early on, most of these fights have been dominated by Keshi.
Keshi has been a madman throughout these fights as well. And I mean, Eclipse Shojin, right, he survives for a surprisingly long time in the backline, tons of healing to him. His Drinker as well, helping out in that situation. And the fact that he's able to just sit in the backline, make his presence known during these team fights has been massive. And with that triple kill as well, he is well on the way to potentially picking himself up a game MVP. Now, with the Baron Empowered minions, let's see what JDG can do to turn things back around. They're going to land an arrow immediately. Mikhail's away. This mid lane tier 2 will fall. The top lane tier 2 on a massive siege as well. And the gold lane continues to expand out.
Doing a pretty good job of syncing up those waves there, just forcing HongQ up top, meaning that JDG didn't really have a way to answer. The siege power of ThunderTalk isn't exactly there when it comes to actually hitting the turrets, but when it comes to flinging spells, you know that On can throw them out there with the best of them, lands a double root along with an encore on top of it. This might be the fight they want to go in. This is a damn good equalizer, but it doesn't matter. Everybody's locked up on the side of JDG.
There they go.
And it looks like ThunderTalk's going to be home. Hook goes down as well, and Gala and HongQ can only watch as their team is torn apart.
Yeah, they're now going to be able to continue this siege on. Gala cannot step up in this situation. You're going to lose out onto this mid lane tier 3 tower. The inhibitor soon to follow as well. And just beautiful encores through. Arn kicks this game off with an encore down in the bottom lane on an aggressive JDG play. And he may well have just secured the victory for ThunderTalk 20 minutes later.
Top inhibitor turret is now under siege after the middle inhibitor has gone down. Respawn's going to be coming up in just a few moments, so ThunderTalk are not going to overstay their welcome. They will allow that top lane inhibitor to live, get off a clean recall. Baron expiring in 15 seconds, but I'm sure they'll be happy with a 5,000 gold Baron power play.
It's just been beautiful overall. Once they had proper control of this game, they really haven't looked back, and now you've got to the situation, right, where you've got the Rod of Ages and the Seraphs, and the Actualizer completed for Heru. He is pumping the damage at this point. Junhao and Keshi have both proven to be basically unkillable during these team fights, even with everything being thrown at them. As JDG, you've got to pick composition that needed to get things going early. They failed to do so, and now it's going to be really tough for them to turn things back around.
Now it's time for ThunderTalk to siege down in this bottom side. It's going to be On leading the way and really able to walk up with reckless abandon. Who is he supposed to be afraid of? He is not really squishy at this point in time. Not a whole lot of resistances, but that's an okay amount of HP, at least for a Seraphine, that is. JDG are completely pinned down.
And Siege just gonna keep on through even without the Baron, and all you need to do is keep the pressure up right here, peel back in 30 seconds time to go grab yourself the next Drake. It will only be the second Drake of the game for ThunderTalk if they're able to secure it. The likelihood we get to a soul in this game is going to be pretty low, but still, it's just another objective to be picking up, keeping away from JDG. More importantly, they're kind of just waiting to get that next Baron. As you said, their actual ability to hit towers, not very strong, so they are going to be reliant on the Baron to be able to win this game.
Nearly an 8,500 gold lead here at the 26-minute mark is outside of a couple of good fights from JDG. This has been all ThunderTalk as they're going to even up the Dragons at 2 apiece and try to keep JDG further and further away from any sort of way to try to flip this game back into their control. Does ThunderTalk look like they'll thought they were going to work near the top side for a second, but it looks like Heru's going to be on this recall here.
They are, and gotta remember how important this matchup is for both of these teams. For ThunderTalk, getting out of that play-in spot is everything to them right now, and something you highlighted earlier that's worth remembering is that their game score has been really bad, right? They've been down by a lot. They're at -7 at the moment, whereas -3 is where LGD are at. Even if they end up losing this series, just picking up single wins here is so important to that game differential, which could end up being the deciding factor.
Now listen, sometimes you gotta get 2-0s. Those are the best ones to get.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to try to make a play onto Keshi here. He's going to flash away, and they throw everything at this guy again. He's shielding up. He's going to drop that public use execution on the backside. Teleport's coming in. It's going to be on trying to save him. There's a flash encore landing onto a couple. Keshi's still alive, but guess who's not? JDG! Down goes the top laner. Down goes the mid laner, and I think down goes JDG as ThunderTalk push mid.
Yeah, they've got themselves the super minions pouring in through the mid lane to go and play around as well. We said they were going to need the Baron. That is not the case. JDG throw way too much at their opponents. You're even going to get a teleport back in from Keshi right here as he heads back to base. This should be it.
I don't think Gala and Vampire can do a damn thing to stop this one. Gala is 1, 2, and 4. He's got 3 items, sure, but I don't know. You're going to need 8 items to try to fight your way out of this one, and instead, he dies on the steps of his fountain. Blood in the water. Vampire will live, but ThunderTalk will close out a very clean Game 1 here over JDG.
Barring one team fight where things go pretty well for JDG, where they get a magical equalizer and the decision-making out of ThunderTalk isn't quite there. Clean, like you said, out of ThunderTalk, but it wasn't necessarily that ThunderTalk were being proactive in that game. It wasn't necessarily that they had to be the main carries in any of that situation. They were doing an excellent job of just stopping whatever plays it was that JDG tried to make. It's JDG being overactive early on, finding bad team fights time and time again that leaves them in this really bad spot, and ThunderTalk ride it all the way home.
And it's always tough whenever you're in a scenario like that where you have this early game comp, you're like, hey, we have the level 6 buttons, let's go make a play, and then, oh, the first play did not work. We got absolutely erased off the map. Well, when do you make the second play, right? You're always wondering, like, is the same thing going to happen again? Bloxer, I'm looking down at the voting here, and I know that this, I think this is just a fan vote, but I'm very worried for Keshi's prospects to win player of the game. I think that Junhao certainly had a fantastic game himself, but I mean, this guy broke open these fights. Surely we have to give it over to him.
In multiple of the fights, and especially I'm looking at the fight that went wrong for ThunderTalk, Keshi was still massive in that fight. If he was able to get there a little bit earlier on, it could have been a completely different story. When he did get there, still was able to pick up a couple of kills for the squad and make sure it isn't a complete disaster of a team fight. I agree. I think that, you know, Keshi played himself a brilliant game, but so did Junhao. So did Arm. So did Feather. I think the only person that didn't have the best time of it overall was potentially Heru, and, you know, he did enough for the squad to not be a drag. He was still pumping the damage later on.
Yeah, got a lot of assists, had some really nice realm warps, showed up to some plays, dealt some damage. I mean, obviously got out-damaged by HongQ. Yeah, HongQ had a lot of kills, but able to keep pace like that, and, you know, this damage chart overall is just a weird one. It is such a low damage chart with nobody getting over 20k in a game that had a lot of really explosive fights.
Yeah. And
you can see your stat lines here. Feather should have had more assists. That play bottom lane, he only got 1 assist for it, which is a damn shame because he did a whole lot in that play himself.
Oh yeah, he was massive in this one, and 100% kill participation here for HongQ. Once again, Yanni, when the team is good, HongQ is bad, and when the team is bad, HongQ is good. And as you called it out beautifully, right? Maybe if he's on one of these more traditional carry champions, he could turn things around for the squad, but expecting him to be able to win a game for his team on the Twisted Fate, it's a great piece in an overall puzzle, but it is not going to be the solo carry, and you really did see it right here. Let's watch through these replays, though, and really track how many of these fights are started by ThunderTalk and how many of them are started by JDG, because the majority of them are started by JDG right here, and a lot of the time it goes completely wrong. This is kind of the one team fight where things work out for JDG.
Yeah, it was a well-timed fear, which means that JunJia was able to stay alive and get that wild growth. And this was really the one fight that you thought, maybe ThunderTalk are going to toss the game here, especially because they get a little over eager here. That's a nice hook, but Keshi just decides, hey, sunk cost fallacy. My support went down. I got to get something back for it.
I'm loving these cinematic replays of these big ultis coming on through. And this is one of the times that it did actually work out for them, right? You get the Enchanted Crystal Arrow land as well. This is one of the reasons HongQ was able to get so far ahead, but everything else here, going in, blowing everything onto JunJia, that's just
he
not
lost 500 HP. You got him, guys.
Hey, you got the Drake, right? Drake for all of your lives? Worth trade. Totally worth.
And this is a scenario where JDG is a little disconnected there. Gala really couldn't get into that fight, and after that ultimate from Keshi, the fight kind of got flipped on its head, where all of a sudden Gala was on a very unsafe side. But this has been something that's been cropping up in some of JDG's games. At times, they're just not all there together, trying to deal damage to some of these targets.
Yeah.
It is very worrisome at times, and they really have to get on the same page, because we know that this team is a good team. They are good individual players. They have been a good team earlier in the year. They still have this skill. It's not like it was drained out of nowhere, but they have to figure something out, and fast. It's going to have to start here in Game 2.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like there were two separate issues going on in this game, right? Exactly what you're saying. Some of these fights, they're just not on the same page. In some of these other fights, they are absolutely on the same page, but wrong book, right? They are just not making the correct play whatsoever in that situation. So if that's happening to you, you're not going in together, but when you are, you're going in for the wrong cause. That's not a recipe for success. Like I said, they're going to have to turn things around in this game number 2, because JDG, they are still, as we've been talking about, under threat of ending up in these bottom 3 spots if everything were to go wrong for them. They really don't want to have that happen.
There we go. There we go. Well-deserved MVP there for Keshi. His 4th MVP. A solid amount for a team that has now won 12 individual games, so he's taken home 33% of the share so far. Really earned every bit of it this game. Really nice to see this guy who, again, as we talked about earlier, can be a little flippy, but he provides a positive, exciting charge. Whenever you watch ThunderTalk, you look at these solo laners and you're like, this is fun. They're either going to interface off, or they're going to look really, really cool doing it, or they're going to have pop-off performances like that Bloxer.
Yeah, it's from both of these top laners, both of these mid laners, right? They're going to int, or they're going to make the coolest play you've ever seen. It's what makes this matchup particularly exciting, and it really did deliver in game number 1. Hopefully we can get a bit more of a fight back from JDG, though, in game number 2.
Yep. Support the young talent of ThunderTalk. And you know who else you should support? The LPL English broadcast. And you can do that by becoming a Coffee member. You know why? Because coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project, because the vast majority of your contributions go directly into the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a large bulk of it pays on-air talent like Bloxer and myself and our content creators. If you subscribe to our coffee, which will be linked in the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat, you too can unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our interviews at international events. With that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the night, and when we return, it'll be the Game 2 draft between ThunderTalk Gaming and JDG Gaming.